Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where we say China has always been the enemy. Wait, hold on one second. What's that? What's that? I apologize. China has always been our friend. Is that correct? No? China, we have always had an ambiguous relationship with. I don't know. I don't know. In this age of right speak sometimes, it's very hard to keep track of what the current day's right speak actually is. So anyways, I've talked about for a while, the United States anti-China propaganda horse crap, and how it is horse crap. And you can tell it's horse crap by how we actually deal with it, right? We are told China is like an existential threat to American democracy. And that's why things like TikTok have to be banned, right? So we had Trump during the first administration. At the end of his administration, he tried to put through an executive order in order to ban TikTok because it was a national security threat that endangered our very democracy. Right, so anyways, he then forgot about it. Biden goes into office, after 4 years, so 4 years after Trump tried to ban it, they finally go through the whole legislative process, gets a law passed through Congress, Biden signs into law to ban. So either TikTok has to leave the United States or has to be acquired by an American company, and they had till like January 19th or January 20th in order to do it, right? And so we were told, and this is true, right? So the Trump administration said TikTok was an existential threat, and the Biden administration said TikTok was an existential threat, which is why, of course, we are now almost 6 months into the Trump administration, and TikTok is still here. And he keeps giving TikTok extensions. He gave them a 90-day or a 60 or 90-day extension, then he gave them another one, and they gave him another one, because as an existential threat to our country, I mean, obviously you should give them an extension. All right, and I've just talked about this idiotic crap again and again, where we're told the reason we have to be so strong against China is they threaten our way of life. And then you look at the actual policies going through, and you're just like, this doesn't make sense. Look, if they're an existential threat to our country, which I do not believe, but if they are an existential threat to our country, can we actually act like it? But anyways, right? So one of the things that's been going on is this whole AI diffusion rule. I don't know if it's still called that anymore. So under the Biden administration, there's something called the AI diffusion rule. That basically tried to limit the amount of AI components that were going to China, right? AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons, and China is an existential threat to democracy. So, holy hell, you can't let China, man, get AI, right? Anyway, so there's a diffusion rule, so NVIDIA couldn't send processors, there's export controls. Biden was literally thinking about putting an export control on models. That's true. That's true. Oh boy, doesn't even understand what's going on in the world. Anyways, and then you have Trump come in, and there are more export controls and the whole 9 yards. And the reason we're told about all these controls is that China is a threat to our way of life. What becomes weird with this is when the U.S. then lifts curbs and things. For no real obvious reason. I'm sorry, did China become a democracy yesterday? Hey, yeah, did China no, China's still not a democracy? Okay, then why are we changing policies? It's almost like our policies don't make a good goddamn bit of sense, and they change based off of, I don't know, whether or not our president got enough sleep last night. So anyways, the U.S. lifts chip software curbs on China in sign of trade truce. So the reason that we have to restrict their access to our technology is because of the existential threat. But now there's this trade truce thing going on. So now we can sell them chip design software. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. From CNBC, the U.S. government has rescinded its export restrictions on chip design software to China, three of the largest players in the space announced on Thursday. So one of the things with the export controls, one of the asinine things with our concept of manifest destiny in the United States, we believe if we saw something out of our peripheral vision, we have the right to control it. Right? So there's this idea that any product that American companies produce or any product that's created with things that American companies produce, we have the right to put export controls on it. And if you violate those export controls outside the US, we have the right to throw you in prison for God knows how long, right? So anyways, part of the whole thing with these processors, with these chips, is there's software out there that allows companies to design processors and chips. Just like you have CAD or whatever else, they have that particular type of software. And so what we're talking about here is this chip design software. Is literally software that is created to, help design chips, CPUs, GPUs, that type of thing. And so there were restrictions on it before, because if blah, 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 China man bad, AI dangerous, bullshit, 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 right? If that's, then you don't want them to have access to software that allows them to design processors. Which, yeah, okay. So what's weird now is that they've rescinded that export restriction. Has the Chinese military shrunk? Has AI become less existentially dangerous? Is China a democracy? What has fundamentally changed about our relationship with China to make it so that you'd rescind these export restrictions on chip design software? Unless all of this is propagandic jingoism horse crap, and they're just using the tech industry as a ping pong ball. In separate statements, semiconductor software designers Siemens AG, Synopsys, and Cadence all said they received letters from the U.S. Department of Commerce informing them that the controls had been lifted. While Siemens is based in Germany, its chip design software subsidiary, Siemens EDA, is based in Oregon, U.S. As a result of export control reversal, Siemens said it had, quote, restored full access to the recently restricted software and technology and had resumed sales and support to Chinese customers. Synopsys and Cadence both said that they were working on doing the same. The U.S. had informed the chip design software companies on May 23, so May 23rd, is barely a month and a half ago, that they were required to obtain licenses before exporting software and other technology for semiconductors to China. It followed an earlier tightening of export controls on other semiconductor products, which restricted the sales of advanced AI processors from NVIDIA and AMD to China. The three firms are considered part of the U.S.-dominated electronic design automation market, which encompasses software, hardware, and essential services for designing chips and semiconductor devices. According to TrendForce, Synopsys, Cadence, and Siemens EDA held a global market share of 31%, 30%, and 13%, so about 74% market share between those three companies, respectively in 2024. The news comes after China signaled last week that they are making progress on a trade truce with the U.S. and confirmed conditional agreements to resume some exchanges of rare earth and advanced technology. So there you go. There you go. China is an existential threat. Unless it's not. China has always been an existential threat. Unless China has never been an existential threat. Unless China has always been kind of sort of passively aggressive an existential threat. I can't keep up with this. I cannot keep up with the stupidity of our politicians. The big thing to understand with this, as I always argue, right, good systems default to good outcomes, bad systems default to bad outcomes, and no system defaults to chaos. My issue with all of this is I fundamentally do not understand what our strategy is here, right? We do not seem to have a coherent strategy on whatever it is that we're trying to do with China. Even if I disagree, even if I fundamentally disagree with what we're doing and why we're doing it, that's one thing, right? That's a political thing. This isn't even that. It's what is a strategy, right? Even if I accept that China is an existential threat to our democracy, even if I accept that AI is more powerful than nuclear weapons, let's say I accept that horse crap on face value. Let's say I swallow the Trump administration's horse crap, right, whole. Then if you do, then how does this back and forth make sense? I don't know. I don't think that it does. I don't think that it does. But maybe that's just me. So yeah, the chip designed software. China is now going to be able to buy it again. Why? Who knows? Who knows? What is that going to mean for NVIDIA and AMD going in the future? It is curious to think about, right? So Huawei right now, one of the things I've talked about is Huawei and these Chinese companies are really advancing in the AI space. Huawei just dropped models that are they're basically open source free models that work really well with their Ascend AI platform. And so it looks like Huawei might be able to take a tremendous amount of market share. So basically, if we are not willing to sell products to China, we're not willing to sell to other places in the world, Huawei is more than happy to take that market. So maybe this is the first chink in the armor. This is the first crack that shows whatever idiotic strategy we've had up until now, maybe they'll be pulling back on that. Maybe. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? And maybe Trump will wake up tomorrow and, won't get his Diet Coke, and all of a sudden there will be more restrictions. We really don't have any idea of what this is going to look like. So anyways, there you go. There's some thoughts for you. So what do you think about this? What do you think about the chip software design platforms being able to be sold in China now? What do you think about the export control going in on May 23rd, and barely a month and a half later, now they're getting rid of the restrictions? What do you think about our strategy? Do you even understand our strategy? Even if you accept the jingoistic horse crap that they've been shoving down our throat, even if you accept that whole cloth, does this strategy seem to make an ounce of sense? Or is it all just the lunacy of a crazy man? Anyways, I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you don't, give us a thumbs down. Leave a good comment, leave a horrible comment. Remember, in this modern social media world of YouTube, all that matters is the interaction. All that matters is the interaction. And with that, I'll see y'all later.